Oh, howdy all, grab yourselves a beer. It is time for some Path of Exile discussion. One of the skills that has been overhauled significantly in the Legion expansion is Glacial Hammer. It has gone from a dumpster tier melee skill that used to be basically just a physical hit that converted some damage to cold and didn't really have much going for it at all, into what could potentially be a little bit of a powerhouse. This I'm combining with the Berserker Ascendancy. Berserker Ascendancy focuses on attack speed, has a unique interaction with critical strikes that I outline in the video dissecting the Berserker Ascendancy, and has gone from being the worst Ascendancy in the game, the unquestioned worst Ascendancy in the game, into one that looks like it's going to be very popular in the Legion expansion. What I'm going to do is quickly break down Glacial Hammer, how it works, how you might scale it, and just a first attempt at a passive tree. I think I am going to actually league start this build, and if I do decide to do so, I will update this video once I've got some more information on exactly how it plays and how well some of the new options work in it. So, without further ado, let's have a quick look at the gem. 60% of physical damage converted to cold damage. So this means that you want to deal as much physical damage as possible, then convert that to cold, but you also want to get this 60% up to 100% by various means. There's two good ways of doing this. There's a couple of passive nodes on the skill tree, and there's also the threshold jewel for this skill, Glacial Hammer. You could also use the unique gloves Hrim Sorrow, or you could use one of the jewels, and also use a set of crafted gloves that have conversion crafted onto them. So there's a bunch of different options. The reason that you want to convert as much as you can is so that all of the damage, not just the 60% of it, can benefit from mods on weapons like increased weapon elemental damage. Additionally, all of this damage can then be used to increase your chance to freeze enemies. This build is going to try to freeze enemies a lot. A hell of a lot. Now, Glacial Hammer does a lot of damage. 200% of base damage. It inflicts longer chills and longer freezes. It has a chance to freeze enemies, increased effective chill, and every third successive strike freezes enemies as though dealing 390% more damage. Has increased melee range, which is great with the overhaul of melee skills in Legion, and it then adds a considerable amount of additional cold damage when you're striking an enemy that is already chilled. Essentially, your goal with this is that your first or second hit softens the enemy up so that it's chilled, and then the third one comes down, smash, boom, out of nowhere, hits it really hard over the head, and freezes it solid. Because we're going to be doing so much scaling of cold damage, we are definitely going to be using Herald of Ice. Herald of Ice is incredible for clearing entire packs and making sure that if you're hitting one enemy and smashing it when it's frozen, that will then cause potentially a chain reaction that will freeze other enemies. But even if it doesn't chain, you can just take out the enemies that are immediately around the one that you're attacking. We're also going to be using the Hatred Aura to start with. I'm not certain that Hatred will be the best choice for reserving mana. There are some other compelling options. There is Herald of Purity, which will add more physical damage, which then gets converted into cold. And there is also the very powerful new Blood and Sand pseudo-aura that people have been talking about a lot. I need to see how these play out in practice. So for the moment, we're going to be starting with Herald of Ice, and we're going to be starting with Hatred, but this may very well change. Without further ado, I'm going to jump over to the draft passive tree that I have been compiling here. So this is the passive tree that I've thrown together. Note that this is done in Path of Building, and this has not yet been updated to fully account for some of the changes in 3.7. The passive tree itself has been updated, but skills have not been, and so that's made theory crafting more difficult. We're going to be starting in the Marauder start because we're a Berserker, picking up some early life, then going and just picking up a bunch of damage nodes. Some of these damage nodes, like this wheel of mace nodes here, are things you should hold off on getting until very, very late game. So they're ones that you can pick up, when you're approaching the 80s or even the 90s. We also have access to the Winter Burial jewel here, which gives 13% cold damage. I believe it can actually vary a bit. It's not always 13. I think it's 10 to 15. I'll have to confirm that. And when you've got at least 40 strength in radius, Glacial Hammer deals cold-only splash damage to surrounding targets. Splash damage is amazing. You want to be dealing splash damage wherever you can. Additionally, it adds 25% more conversion. So if you use 2 of these, and I've tentatively set up the tree to have 2 of them, then that covers all of your conversion needs. Alternately, you can run 1 of them and pick up 15% or more on crafted gear. Or alternately, there are these nodes over here, Winter Spirit, which are a long way out of your way. However, we are going fairly close to pick up some life nodes, so it's not unfathomable to come over and take these nodes. They're pretty solid options as well. In any case, you'll see if I remove one of these, the tentative damage per second output drops considerably when I remove one of them, and if I was to remove both, it would drop even further. So they're very important. They provide both area of effect clearance, and also they provide you with more cold damage, so more damage scaling, and also on top of that, they provide you with complete immunity to physical reflect, because physical reflect hurts, but when you've blocked out all of your physical damage, you're converting all of it away, you're then completely immune to physical reflect. Anyways, we pick up some of the juicy nodes. We pass right by Valpact, so you can certainly pick that up if you wish to do so. Valpact is a very strong node, but it has very severe drawbacks. It doubles your life leech, but it also completely stops all of your life regeneration. It is generally accepted that it is correct to take it on a build like this. I just tend to be a bit reticent about Valpact because the times that it's bad, it's really bad. If you do take Valpact, definitely unspec from it when you are running the Eternal Labyrinth, because it is an absolute nightmare to have Valpact on when you're in the lab, but that only costs you 1 regret orb, and you'll then pick up a little bit of regeneration, which will help you deal with traps in the Eternal Labyrinth. So then, yeah, you can pick up Valpact again once you exit the Labyrinth. In terms of skills, I've tentatively just set up to use Glacial Hammer linked to elemental damage with attacks, melee physical damage, multi-strike, hypothermia, and ruthless. You certainly won't be using all 5 support gems as you're leveling. You'll level with what you've got access to. So Glacial Hammer is available very early in the game. From memory, none of these other support gems are available early, so you'll just have to make do with things like added cold damage early on. And then as these gems become available, start replacing some of your inferior choices with them. And you'll also start getting more damage from a whole lot of things like Herald of Ice's quality bonus as you're leveling up. Furthermore, I've set up some basic items here. Life and resist equipment, so you'll see just this bad helmet, Belly of the Beast, which is a pretty solid item but nothing amazing, and a whole bunch of just bad life and defense themed armor pieces, and then a few flasks that are not yet. Certainly nothing finalized. Taste of Hate can be quite hard to get and will give you a considerable boost when you use it, but the build functions fine without it. You'll also want to get an Asri's Promise, which I haven't put in here as yet. Weapons-wise, Doryani's Catalyst is exceptionally good. This is not available at the very, very, very beginning of a league because it drops from Asri, from memory. I think it's Asri, maybe it's... in any case, it's fairly rare drop, so it's not available super early on, but you will be able to trade for it over time. Alternately, though, use physical weapons rather than using elemental weapons. If you're interested in how to craft physical weapons, I've made a video on that that's just gone up online. So use one-handed physical weapons and we'll be dual wielding them. The last thing to go through is the tentative use of the Berserker tree. Rite of Ruin, because Rage is incredibly powerful. We're going to be taking Aspect of Carnage, which is the take more damage and deal more damage node. This is a dangerous node, and by all means take something else if you would prefer, like not Warbringer, Pain Reaver. And we're taking Flawless Savagery because it just adds so much crit and physical damage to attacks. Initially, we're not going to take Blitz. Blitz is actually one of the compelling reasons to consider the Berserker. However, you need to have a lot of critical strike for this to be effective. I think Blitz is going to be an extraordinarily good node in the long run, but it's something that early on is not really going to be useful. Anyways, that's all I've got for the moment. This is still in a draft format. I think I am going to league start with it, which will mean that I'll be able to provide both gameplay footage videos and also updates to the build, because this is a draft. I'm sure that I'll come up with better options, and I'm sure that other people will have advice that will improve it as well. Got any questions? Fire away below. Otherwise, have a good one.